Hi, let's move on to quadratic function, part 4. The type of graph that I'm going to discuss now will be, there will be already a graph that already written in the form of two factors, right? Quadratic, you will have two factors, okay? For quadratics, there you have, at most you have two factors. So for example, if this type of graph, how are you going to sketch, which is already factorized for you, right? So, okay, very simple. So if for this type of graph, your technique of sketching will be, first you identify the shape of the graph, right? So if you see that if you just expand for the first x square, right, the highest, the x and x, you get x square, positive x square, right? You get positive x square. So of course the graph will be open upwards, right? Open upwards. Because of there are two different factors, two factors which are different. Of course, there will be have two intersection point on the x-axis. That's all you need to know. So now, okay, we're teaching you how to find the domain and range for this type of graph. So you have sketching the x and y. So of course, if intersect x, first, the more important thing, you know the graph is open upwards, but there are many locations, right? You can open here, you can open there. So you have to find the x-intercept. X-intercept, pintasan x-intercept refer to y equals to 0, right? Along the x-intercept, the value of y always 0, right? So it means that y 0, so you solve the quadratic function, you are getting the value of -2 and x equals to 4, right? So this is the location there of the graph. So it means -1, -2, right? And 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So the graph will be going this way, right? Open upwards. But because you have to know the details, because you want to know, you are not sketching the graph actually, you are actually want to find the domain and the range of the graph. So if you go deeper, you need to find the range. So now what happened now is you want to find the range. You know that there must be a axis of symmetry between this intersection point, right? There must be an axis of symmetry. This axis of symmetry will determine the minimum point, right? The minimum point here. So of course you want to determine the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry. You will take the value of -2 plus with 4. You find the midpoint, right? You take -2 plus 4, divide by 2. So you have 2 over 2, you get 1. So means 1 will be your axis of symmetry, right? So of course 1, there must be a minimum point somewhere here, right? So you need to find the minimum point. You by substitute the x equals to 1, substitute the x equals to 1 into y. Into this y here, okay? So which you will have y equals to 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2, and 1 minus 4, right? So you have 3, and this you have -3, right? Substitute the 1 here. So 1 plus 2, you have 3, 1 minus 4, you have -3. So you have -9. So means at -9, okay, just draw here, -9, there is a minimum point here, 1, -9 here, alright? This axis here, the -9 here, they have a minimum point. So you know that this is the x-intercept, so you just sketch. The graph will be look like this way. So you can find the y-intercept as well. If you want to find the y-intercept, it's okay. Y-intercept is x0, right? X0. So try to see the y-intercept. X will be equals to 0, right? So if x0, what happened? You will get 2 times -4, you will have -8 here, slightly above the minimum point here. So this is a graph. So if you don't understand, you try to pause the video and replay the video. You can see how I sketch this graph here. So from the graph, you can know the domain. The domain definitely will be -infinity to infinity, right? Everywhere. So but the range is the special one. So you need to identify the range. So the range here will be, there are no graph below here. The minimum value, above here there is a graph. The minimum value will be -9, right? -9 because it's a minimum point. -9 is the minimum. Include the -9 and beyond, right? -9 up to infinity. So in this case, you sketch the graph will be better, right? For this quadratic, you sketching the graph to identify the domain and range will be easier. Alright, so okay, this is for question A. So let's for part B. So for part B, the graph will be negative, right? You will see here there is a negative value here. So negative in front of x squared. Once you have negative, the graph will be open downwards. Means there is a maximum point, right? There is a maximum point. Okay, so there are various ways to sketch this graph. So I prefer to factorize the -2x, right? I factorize, then I have x minus 4 here. If you check back, -2x squared, positive 8x, right? This become a 2 factors, right? Become 2 factors. Okay, 2 factors. So repeat the same process where the first step will be the shape. You know the shape. So of course, if you know a shape, there is a intersection point here. Okay, so let's see. Y, x. So what is the x-intercept? The x-intercept will be y equals to 0 or fx equals to 0. Means that this whole thing equals to 0. -2x, x minus 4 equals to 0. If you solve the quadratic, you will have value of x equals to 0 and x equals to 4. So means at 0 here, 1, 2, 3, 4. They are intercepting at this. So means the graph is intercepting at 0 and 4. So the graph will look like this way. So the next step will be you need to find actually what is the maximum value that they reach, right? So you need to find the symmetrical axis. From here, very easy, you can see, right? 0 and 4. So the axis of symmetry, will be you take x equals to 0 plus 4 divided by 2. You have x equals to 2, right? Equal to 2. So along this, there will be a maximum point. The maximum and minimum point always on the axis of symmetry of a quadratic. So, okay, so if you have 2, you know, 2, you have to put the value of 2 here to find the value of y, right? So you put the value of 2, let's say when x equals to 2, your value of y will be substitute into the function. So you have -2 square plus with 8 times 2. So you have -8 plus with 16, which gives you 8, right? So means from at 2 here, 4, 8. So there is a maximum point at 8. So you can sketch the graph now. Intercept 0, reach to maximum 8, and go down again, intercept 4 again. Alright, very simple. So with the graph, I can actually state the domain and range. So what is your domain? Right? What is the domain? Your domain will be your domain for this case will be -infinity to infinity, and the range is the important part here. So range will be from -infinity up to maximum 8. So this is your answer. So for the next, I want you to pause the video and sketch the graph before you're looking at the answer. Okay, for part C, so I'm going to continue with part C. Part C, right, there are still 2 factors, right? So for part C, you must be careful. There is a negative in front of x here, right? In front of x here. So I always encourage students to make sure that the coefficient for x is positive, right? So what you do, you factorize the negative out, then you will have a -3 plus x, and you have x minus 1, right? because you see negative, negative, positive 3, negative, positive, negative x, right? Is the same. So I rewrite it so that I won't do any silly mistake. X minus 3 and x minus 1. But the problem here will be there is a negative here, right? The negative here is telling you that it's open downwards, right? It's open downwards. So if open downwards, because of there are two factors, so there must be two intersection, right? Two intersection for the x-axis. So now you know the graph. Okay, you sketch the graph. At first, you must find the x-intercept. For this type of case, which is already have two factors, you have to find the x-intercept, which the fx equals to 0 or y equals to 0, right? Or y equals to 0. Then you have negative x minus 3, x minus 1 equals to 0. It's the same, right? So you have x equals to 3 and x equals to 1. Okay, x equals to 3 and x equals to 1. So you sketch. Is between 1 and 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, right? Between 1 and 3, all right? 1 and 3. So you know the graph will be moving this way, right? You have a maximum value here. So how to find the maximum value? The axis of symmetry will be the midpoint between 3 and 1, right? So axis symmetry. So I don't show how to find the axis symmetry. You know, the middle of between 3 and 1 of the intersection here. So asymmetry. So you know 2. So to find the maximum value for y, you have to substitute the 2, x equals to 2 into the y here. So you have 3 minus 2, 3 minus 2, 2 minus 1. So you have 1, 3 minus 2 is 1, 2 minus 1 is 1, right? 1, so 2, you get 1, 2, you get 1. So the maximum value here is 1, right? 1, so means at 2, there's 1. So this is the intersection. The 1 and 3 is the x-intercept. So you're sketching the graph, you know, the graph will be moving upwards. And this is your turning point. We said turning point, get turn. So it will reach at the maximum value of 1, right? After that, they won't have a graph above there. So the domain will be still the same, negative infinity up to infinity. And the range will be negative infinity up to 1, right? Maximum is 1. So very simple. For this type of quadratic function, which is already factorized to two linear factor, this is the best way to sketch the method to sketch the graph.